The import of the complaint against Rosenthal was that his unwillingness to discipline the insubordinate Günther and his unwillingness to protect his honor as a Jew was a breach of the duties of his position as that his position as district judge imposed upon him. As a Jew, sullied the honor of the Prussian judiciary by failing to defend his honor as a Jew in the face of a coarse challenge from an inferior. This was, of course, an instantiation of the double bind of anti-Semitism on culturally assimilated Jews. Had Rosenthal insisted on the dignity of his office in the face of Günther's insults, he would have been accused of manifesting the very touchiness and pushiness ascribed by anti-Semites as a negative Jewish characteristic, but in not reacting, he was adjudged by his peers to have cravenly dishonored the entire judiciary, thus proving the cowardice that was an anti-Semitic ascribed characteristic of Jews. Now, although the experiences of Mosse and Rosenthal established the very real limits under which Jews in the judiciary operated during the German Empire and Weimar Republic, there was real room for success and prominence. And there is actually a large literature about this, very celebratory. Although the anti-Semitic charge against the Weimar Republic as a Jew republic was a resonant one, it doesn't correspond with the facts. There was no great influx of Jews into any branch of the legal profession disproportionate to what had occurred in the empire. Exclusion and extermination is the sad conclusion of this story that we know all too well. Both before and after the Reichstag fire in February 1933, Jewish judges and lawyers had to endure organized assaults, boycotts, and humiliation at the hands of the SA and other anti-Semites. April 7th saw the promulgation of the law for the restoration of the professional civil service and a separate law on admission to the practicing bar, which excluded all judges except those who fell under the saving clause of front veterans or children of those who died at the front or those who were already admitted before August 4th of 1914. The same sort of thing took place with regard to the private bar. The Nuremberg laws of 1935 tightened this up more closely and began the erosion of this Hindenburg insisted upon acceptance, which disappeared entirely after the Kristallnacht pogrom of 1938. I want to end with two vignettes in summary. Now, Jewish jurists who remained in Germany after 1938 after 1933 responded to these developments in a number of ways. Many had immigrated, others remained and suffered a spectrum of fates. A remarkable outcome is the story of Horst Berkowitz of Hanover. Born in Königsberg in East Prussia, he had volunteered for service in the First World War, where he was severely wounded and partially disabled. After the war, he had completed his university study, been admitted to the bar, practiced in Hanover with two established Gentile lawyers, one of whom was a strident member of the conservative and later anti-Semitic German National People's Party. He enjoyed a remunerative and satisfying practice until 1933. But on July 1st, 1933, with 3 days' notice, his partners terminated the partnership. Because he was a wounded war veteran, he practiced until 1938. He was arrested and engaged in forced labor through the balance of the after the outbreak of the First World War, which he survived. And upon being released, he was rehabilitated by the British Occupation Army and embarked upon a successful post-war career as a practitioner, culminating in many honors and distinctions, including the Bundesverdienstkreuz. More typical is the sad story of Hermann Reis of Marburg. Born in a small village in Hessen, outside of Marburg, to an observant Orthodox Jewish family, he studied law in Marburg and Frankfurt, socialized mainly with other Jews, married a relatively well-to-do Jewish woman, and set up practice in Marburg with a partner, Willi Wertheim, who was also Jewish, and they were both front veterans. They enjoyed a prosperous practice and comfortable bourgeois existence. But they were immediately disbarred in 1933 because Wertheim had once represented a Communist Party legal aid organization and had enclosed a friendly note when he sent his bill for his fee. Reis, disbarred, chose to remain in Marburg rather than emigrate, living from his investments and his work as a Jew counselor representing Jewish clients. And when war came, he became an administrator of the Marburg Jewish community, shrunk to 100 members until he was imported to Auschwitz, where he perished. After the war, some Jews returned to Germany, but in remarkably small numbers. The Jewish population of Germany, out of 82.5 million, is now 108,000, 30,000 of whom have arrived from Russia in the last 15 years. Now, to conclude very quickly, although Horst Göppinger, one of the leading scholars on this, bravely lists the names of pre-1933 Jewish law professors, judges, and practitioners who returned, the prominent Jewish presence in the German legal professions was at an end after 1945. Indeed, the only study of legal professionals that spans the caesura of the zero-hour Stunde Null of 1945 traces the continuity not of the Jewish presence in the bar, but of lawyers in the Federal Republic who had been implicated in the National Socialist Party, but had nevertheless reestablished themselves in post-war practice. Now, the relationship of German Jews to the legal professions in Germany always had at its core a close connection to liberal politics and the value of individual achievement. The heyday of this connection came in the liberal legal reforms of 1869 to 79, which not only emancipated Jews from civil disabilities with greater clarity than before, but by opening the private legal profession to market forces, guaranteed Jews an opportunity to claim for themselves a niche within the legal profession, determined only by their hard work and competence. Some Jews pursued legal careers in the judiciary and the academy, but there the process of state control of appointment and advancement limited their opportunities to advance to the full extent of their talent and hard work. So most entered private practice, where they thrived, advanced, and seemed by the Weimar Republic to be fully integrated and respected. But the values of liberalism had been under assault from the 1890s in Germany, both within and without the legal profession. And by the crisis at the end of Weimar, the liberal value of judgment based on an individual's merit was under widespread assault. Liberalism had reached its limits in political, economic, and social crisis, and frustrated Germans abandoned liberalism, and Jews in the legal profession and elsewhere fell victim to profoundly illiberal schemes that rejected the universalism of emancipation, suspected the aims and prospects for assimilation, and ultimately sought a solution for crisis by excluding Jews first from state service, then the private legal profession, then the national community by law, and finally from the national community by persecution and murder. The entire presupposition of the involvement of German Jews in the legal professions was the context of liberalism. And when liberalism lost its support, German Jews irreparably lost their place, both in the German legal professions and in German society as a whole.